Okay, let's just try to see if this works. I think it was the USB cord. I will try to speak less and see if this makes it work. I don't hear any crackling at least. Okay. I guess I deserve that for not doing live streams in a while. I'm really sorry, people. I don't know how it... I should probably like set up my equipment in a way that like it can't be touched, because like this was a cord that was behind the computer, so I don't know how it could have been moved in any way. I should probably duct tape them to place. I feel so terrible. Okay, I guess this is the rock bottom, so whatever. I kind of don't want to use pallets today. I'm in this sort of like weird, let's just see what happens type of mood. I tried to do some planning before this stream started, but I guess a big part of me just wants to like paint and see what happens. Yeah. Is my microphone a little bit quiet? Or is it just the volume on this? Let me know how the sound is. I did reset all of the cords. I am pretty sure that it was the USB port. I didn't delete the previous stream. I think it was 6 minutes long, so this must be it. Okay. I'm going to delete it. It can't be this stream that I'm currently on, I hope, so I hope that this doesn't end when I press this button. I just don't want there to be traffic to the broken video for people who weren't there. I also deleted the link from Instagram as well. Am I on a new layer? I guess I am. Okay. I finished that, and sorry about all of that. I think it's just my iPhone was super quiet. Maybe that's the reason. I just want to show you what I've been working on. It's this brush that I'm thinking of releasing to the members. So I wanted to add a tag to it, and I didn't want to add some sort of like messy random thing. I wanted to create its own tag here. So this brush is, let's say, like 99% finished. And I want to release this to the members of this YouTube channel right after this stream. And the cool thing about this brush is that there are two different canvas textures, like a denim texture and then a linen canvas, like burlap, very rough texture. And it depends on how hard you press on which one of those canvas textures you get into view. And I thought that this way, when you are just sort of like alternating between like hard presses and light presses with your brush, you will create like a very organic looking texture to the brush strokes that never repeats, even if you are doing a row of brush strokes right next to each other, that each one would still be unique. I'm gonna switch into my proper headphones so that I'm not gonna be monitoring the sound anymore. So if the sound goes like weird, please let me know so I can fix it. I really like these colors somehow. And I want the colors to sort of like blend and mix. Is anybody on their summer vacations yet? I tried going to art galleries yesterday, but I have bad luck with opening hours. So I went on a run instead. Such a nice weather here. The only downside is that in my workroom, it's absolutely boiling. Like, it's so hot in here. I'm painted on the same layer again. Okay, well, what if I just do a completely new start and try to fine-tune what the shape of this creature could be? I'm gonna put the YouTube video on background so I can see. So the way I'm going to be releasing this brush is that I'm gonna do a post on anybody who has like joined this channel. Like, you can see channel membership posts on my feed. So I'm gonna put the download link there, and you can just download the brush right after this stream is done. And I'm going to finish the brush by adding whatever this painting is going to be as its tag. Use like one of those dark hues. Pikachu in a sun chair. That sounds like a good idea. I just recently finished playing Pokemon Fire Red, which is the color version of the first Pokemon game, and it was so good. I really enjoyed that. I need to get this mouse out of view. Angle of these ear things matters. That's such a huge impact on how the whole thing looks. Andrew is saying, I look forward to using this brush. I'm not even like showing the cool texture parts with it. I mean, it's gonna do like a really quick big brush stroke here. Can you see the texture? That's one of the two textures. And then when I press harder, you can see that it's picking up the other texture and sort of like combining them. But because they are both this sort of like canvas weave, it's really hard to tell where one of those grains start and where one ends. They both also have a little bit of like rolling effect to them. So even if you're like painting with the same texture over that exact same area, let's just use a contrasting color over here. If you do, for example, this, like it's not continuing that exact same texture because of the rolling effect. And here we can see how those things are mixing. I think it adds like a really cool organic look to the brush strokes. It's just, I like this way of just like building color surfaces that are not just like one paint bucket fill, but they have this sort of grittiness to them. Anyway, I really hope you guys will like this. I've been doing a lot of tweaking. And because it's a dual brushes are like always really tricky to make. Just because like when I'm starting a brush and then I'm thinking of an idea like this that could only work as a dual brush, I know for a fact that like any type of planning is just like also going to be greatly influenced by just literally how it all comes together. Because there's so much luck involved. Like luck in like when I make the grains, when I scan the canvas textures, like how much of a gray in that canvas weave I have, how much contrast is there to begin with, and then the way that those interact with each other. I mean, I've been doing this for decades. Not just digital painting, but I've been making my own tools in Photoshop and Painter and what have you for ages. And whenever you're working with a dual brush, especially ones that have this sort of like, how would I describe it? Like oil painting style color bleeds in them. It's gonna do some kind of a, that'd be like a tail or like tail feathers, something like that. And then legs somehow. Owls have those chunky legs, so maybe I could blend them to look a little bit like fox legs, like very chunky. And then another one here, like maybe those would overlap. And then it would be holding on to something here. I think the back is still, somehow it doesn't have a flow to it. But the colors are like so muted right now that I need some sort of like fresh colors to give me some hope in here. Just something like, maybe these could be leaves. I don't hate the orange, but like maybe it could work better on this. So that it doesn't look so traditionally owl-like. Maybe I should have a different starting base color. Lollykins creates saying it's boiling here. It's summer truly in the UK. Every day is a holiday for me, but sometimes I have to do boring things like hospital appointments. Okay, that does sound pretty serious. I know that this is not making it look any less Pikachu-like. Maybe that's not a bad thing. I've somehow like fallen into this YouTube rabbit hole, which I don't hate, honestly. Whenever I open the main page of YouTube, now I'm getting recommended all these like super cool looking indie games that are like all super unique and exactly my type in different weird ways. And it's just so cool. 15 years ago, I could not have imagined that there would ever be those kinds of games again or ever. I mean, it just seems like all of my wildest dreams of what games could become when I was 16 are now happening again, and I have access to them in a way that I didn't think would be possible, because all of the cool games that I am interested in, like, they are all cheap ones. Like, no game that I am interested in is costing over 60 euros currently. They are all like incredibly cheap games on Steam. I don't. I'm pretty sure that like kids these days, like they don't understand how lucky they are with like the kinds of options that they have. It's so cool. And also parents, when they are deciding like what kind of games they are allowing their kids to play, like there's so many like interesting games where kids can learn useful skills like speed typing. Like there are so many games that there's even competition on what kind of games are the best ones to learn typing really fast. Like full on like RPGs and adventure games, or if they want to learn a different language, if they want to learn Japanese kanji through a game, that's also possible now. And also it's such a huge field that there are so many different like options for them that they can just choose what they like, and they don't have to just like be satisfied with the only option that is out there. There are multiple different kinds of coding games, just like learning the basic logic of what coding is, like through abstraction. Like even like small children can learn the basics of coding through different types of logic games. But if older people want to learn like actual coding, there are games even for those. Like if you want to learn like a specific coding language, like you can get as detailed as you want, and those things exist. I'm trying to look at the bigger screen and the small thumbnails for symmetry, because symmetry to me is always really difficult. I don't know like how much of that skill I have even learned, because I remember that this has always been like a very hard part about painting anything figurative for me, like seeing symmetry. The more complex the angle is, the harder it is for me to see it. And I don't like crush anyone's like hopes and dreams, but I don't know how much better I've gotten in that skill over time. I think I still kind of suck at seeing symmetry errors. I love it when I can just mix the colors on canvas like that. It also just builds up those interesting layers. To me, there's something cool about looking at a painting and like seeing how it was painted from the painting itself. I don't mean like sketching lines, but the history of different layers of colors. When I can see it, I think that's kind of cool. can try to have some kind of like bump in the back. I think it's still missing that low here, and then it could kind of curve into the wing. Whatever that ends up being. I'm just gonna crush all of these elements together so that it doesn't get too complicated for me to understand what's even here. What screen protector do you use for your iPad? No, I don't. I think the screen protectors, especially the ones that have that sort of like friction in them, make painting way less fun, and it's harder to have those sort of like sweeping brushstrokes when the entire screen is fighting against you at all times. Back when I was like making my own canvases by stretching the canvas and using rabbit glue to create the surface, we would go to great lengths to make the canvas so that the brushstrokes would just glide on the surface. So it seems weird to me to like try and make the canvas somehow have more friction for painting purposes. I understand if you use iPad for only for drawing, but I rarely use my iPad for drawing anything. Like here, I'm just sculpting out things by painting. I really love this color combination that is happening on this like ear that I'm right now working on the left. I mean, sometimes when a color combination to me seems like it's the right one, like I really can feel it. Like it's almost like a physical sensation that I feel like I'm so excited about the way that that looks that I just want to like get out of the chair and like physically jump around. Like that's how strong of an emotion a right color combination can be for me. I mean, I might change my opinion of like that spot, but right now, that's the best part of the painting. Easily. I think I can make this canvas a little bit bigger. I really don't feel like I need a lot of layers here. Often people ask me like what type of resolution I use, but those are the type of reasons what I am always considering when I'm thinking about the resolution of the canvas that I'm working with. How many layers do I need? And then I would also factor in like your experience in digital painting here. So if you have painted for less than 10 years, like add a little bit of like extra buffer in how many layers you think you need. You don't want that layer organization to slow you down, especially since you probably don't have as many tricks up your sleeve and like how to organize your layers at this point yet. So you don't want that to be like one of those things that is holding you back. But once you have painted for some time, let's say 15 years, then I would recommend kind of feel free to inch closer towards that limit once you have your set ways of working. But it should never be like the most difficult part of your painting process. Like it should be a relatively trivial question. And after you have painted, let's say 15 years, you probably want most of your paintings to be print ready anyway, so that you have enough resolution so that you can use them in your print shop, so that other people can also enjoy your work on their walls. This isn't a flat brush. This is the brush that I am just right now releasing for the members of this channel, and it's a dual brush that has 2 different textures to it. And it also drags the paint based on what other colors are on the canvas. And that's one of the reasons why I'm choosing to use so few layers, because I want to see those drags of color. They just add a little bit of like extra visual interest, in my opinion. And it's just one more of those ways to show how the painting was painted. Okay. I think that's adding a little bit of like more mood to the piece. Stray is a good game, definitely worth playing and compelling. Yeah, Stray is one of those games that I didn't buy at launch because it was a little bit too expensive for me, but now I've seen it in my recommendations over and over again, and it's super cheap now. which is great. I'm definitely gonna play it at some point. There's also another like cat game that I wanna play. It has this sort of like more pastel looking color palette. The shadows aren't super dark. But that's also a game that I want to play. And then there's this like corgi game where you go into corgi heaven, I guess. And you run around as a corgi. Which was obviously something that was just like made for me. Lolukins creates is saying, I'm so old I learned to type on a mechanical typewriter, but I did practice on an app too. Yes, I also practiced on a mechanical keyboard. And I still think that there's something cool about those. Like, I had my grandparents' old typewriter for ages just because I thought it looked really pretty. And I did use it for writing at some point too. It was one of those... It's impossible to explain in any like other reasonable ways, but if anybody has played like any old Resident Evil games, you have those ink ribbons that you use for saving. Like, it was that kind of a mechanical typewriter. That I used to use. I mean, obviously it was already old when I used it. I'm not that old. Looking at the silhouette and thinking about the flow of this whole thing, maybe having a little bit of like light from the side on this tiny little nose could be. I think that brings out the three-dimensionality a little bit more. I bring in a little bit more fresh greens somehow in these leaves as well. Let's just try the limits of how far I can push the palette. Sometimes it's just like nice to work the color in a way that like you don't need to commit to like one specific palette, but you can like literally keep working on it like it's a pile of dough that you are just kneading until it starts working. This music is so random, but I'm just gonna go with it. An old fox? Probably. Was the cat game like some sort of like Little Cat's Adventure or something? I remember that it had like a style for creating the characters that they didn't have like proper faces, which to me seemed interesting. I think in general, like I like the idea of game characters' faces being like somehow obscured when it doesn't have that much of a story meaning of what they look like. For example, there's this Souls-like called Ashen that has the characters have this like low poly style, but the colors are super muted and also beautiful, and the character faces are just like skin texture polygons without any facial features. And for some reason, I just really like that. eugenics? No, definitely. I appreciate the kind of games that guy makes, but his like game design philosophy definitely I respect it, and the type of development that he does. But as a player, I just know that it's not for me. Like I'm not made for that level of stress. I guess in general, like the roguelikes in their traditional form, the way that original Rogue intended that entire gameplay style to be, it's just like way too much of a high commitment, high risk for me. I mean, it would be cool to be a player that like gets good at those games, but I just think that that's sort of like really long feedback loop. I think it's amazing how some people can play those games and get better at it, but to me, the type of mistakes that I'm making, I think I need to be punished like faster to learn anything useful about the things that I'm doing wrong. And the last game that I worked on was a roguelike as well, so at that point I just felt like, okay, like if I can't envision myself like playing this game and enjoying it, like maybe I shouldn't be making it either. How can I put a photo in the background to copy it? Maybe just like print it out, have it next to your screen, and then you can use it as reference if you want to learn how to draw or paint something like it. And then you can have that skill in your muscle memory and you can use it for anything creative that you do. But sure, you could just like import it to the wrench icon and press add that way. But that's not something that I would call using a reference. Six hours outside in the heat with kids. Got my art station ready, iPad 100%. Okay, that sounds good. Chips and mojito sounds good, except I'm kind of traumatized by the chips that I bought yesterday. I was near the railway station and I bought these snack chips that said that they are spicy, and this is Finland. Absolutely nothing is spicy ever. Like no matter how you would will it to be spicy, So I thought that like, okay, I'm just gonna get the spiciest version of this. And it's some sort of like Estonian brand of chips, and I have never eaten anything that spicy in my entire life. It's a third of that small bag of chips is still on my kitchen table because I literally couldn't eat all of them. One game that I'm really looking forward to playing, which is probably gonna take a while before it gets a little bit cheaper, but it's the Jonathan Blow's new game. The guy who made Witness. I loved Witness. He also made Braid. Back when Xbox Live Arcade games were a thing. Finnish Dad is saying, I've been playing Dave the Diver. Love the vibe and pixel-like graphics. I also have Dave the Diver, and it has like million DLCs now. I really should start playing it at some point. But the coolest thing that I have started this week is after I completed Pokemon Fire Red, I found out that the game that I've been waiting for ages, Terranil, now has a full controller support. And it was on sale, so I started playing it, and it's so good. It's like a city builder, but in reverse. You have this completely barren wasteland, and then you build machines that bring up the humidity of the planet, and then slowly you can see like some grass and plants growing, and you're trying to reach these different milestones to get the temperature up or humidity up. so that the ecosystem can thrive. And then it does this weird thing that I don't think I've seen in any other game before, is that it's almost like a puzzle game to get to that point, but then it turns into management, and you need to manage the ecosystem so that there is like a specific ratio of different types of terrains and environments and different conditions for all of the species to appear in that stage, one by one. And then it does like one more genre shift, is when you start to go into detail and micromanage each individual animal and try to create like perfect conditions for them. Like you need to take a photograph of perfectly happy bears, and for the bears to be perfectly happy, you need to manage their environment so that they can get into like that state of perfect happiness, and then you can take the picture and one by one fill up this picture book of perfectly happy animals in your habitat. Then it changes like again, and all of those equipment that you use to manage the environment and bring it into these perfect conditions, you need to dismantle all of that and leave the planet like basically untouched. And it's not as simple as like just go in and click and destroy each one of the structures. You sometimes need to plan in like which order you are destroying those elements that you have built into that environment, so that you have, for example, like a railway or a waterway path to carry all of those elements that you need to recycle back into your ship. And then the last thing that you should leave is the ship that you are leaving with. So it turns into like a puzzle game once again. And all of these phases like somehow feel very natural, and it doesn't feel like, oh, we are now in the boring phase of this. It's interesting. Like a very wild design choice to make. And I think it's so impressive that it works as well as it does. I kind of like that. This area, I think it's not yet done, in my opinion. Lolikins Creates is saying, I got Stray very cheaply. I don't play games enough to spend much on them. Same. I wish they had versions of games which have story level rather than having to be killed 5,000 times to move on. Yeah, I understand that point of view. But I remember when Western games were sort of like on the rise, and everybody was sort of like up in arms about the fact that, for example, Japanese games tend to have so much grinding in them, and like it was some sort of like a bug that needs fixing. And I always thought that like this is the thing that I enjoy, about these games. Like, I enjoy having a good gameplay loop that I can repeat and build my characters. I get that like some people feel like it's mind-numbing and repetitive, but for me that was always sort of like comfort gaming that I enjoyed. Like when it's done well, I'm like sure that there are more instances than not when the grind is like making the game worse. Like I'm not saying that this is some sort of like a universal truth, but a lot of the games that are done by Japanese developers that I do enjoy have like a really just good core loop that I enjoy repeating, even if it's the same. And I guess like my definition of like what I consider to be a grind is very different to like most people. As I've heard a lot of people say that like they think that Monster Hunter games are super grindy, and I've never felt like I've been grinding anything in those games. I guess I haven't done like that high level stuff that I would be trying to get some sort of like rare loot drops. Then it probably can get grindy, but I always felt like I'm always playing new content and something that a quest that I haven't completed before. Now I'm just thinking about Vivi's paws because they have this sort of like chunkiness to them, and I thought that having that sort of like mix between a fox and an owl, that type of paw talon could work. I think some of these brushstrokes are too hesitant though, so I don't enjoy that. I wonder what people like overall think about the way that Dave the Diver's sequel, or is it prequel, looks like, because they have clearly like upped the budget and gone into stylized 3D characters, and it definitely doesn't look bad. Like if I saw that game for the first time and I didn't know that it's a Dave the Diver sequel, I would absolutely think that like this looks amazing. But somehow I can't help thinking that like Dave the Diver looks really good. Like, do I need 3D graphics out of that? I guess it's an easier way to reach a bigger audience for them. I'm so glad that I got my brushes back. I had this thing that Procreate or my iPad went through some kind of an update, and then when I opened my Procreate, like all of my brushes were gone. Like literally every single one of them had just this sort of like dashed line ghost version of each one of the brushes, and I had a full-on crash out. Like I just did not know what to do. I went to the Procreate forums and like I wasn't civil about it. I was like, how can this happen? Like, where are my brushes? Like, I had so many brushes that I was working on that weren't saved anywhere. Like, how can an update just like vanish all of them? And they kept walking me through all of these different ways to recover them very patiently, mind you. Like, they were very gracious despite the way that I probably wrote to them. And it's just, I tried everything and nothing seemed to work. And one of the things that they said that like this could just take a while, like just chill and wait. But like when all of your brushes are gone, it was pretty hard to find a way to chill for me. But then after about 4 days or something, they came back like miraculously, and I just was so happy. But damn, that like did not need to be so dramatic. I'm trying to look at the symmetry here. It's definitely not working. I could do like one eye and then just flip it, but I'm not 100% sure like which one. I think the one here on the left looks a little bit more foxy, so I think I could start with that and then just kind of use both of these. I'm trying to keep it like painterly and not too like drawn. As that's the style of the painting. I don't want it to suddenly change here when I'm working on a detail. Tired finished that is saying, I haven't seen the sequel at all. I have had the game in my library since launch, and I think I just started. Yeah, I've had it for ages as well. But I probably should finish Persona 5 before I forget everything that was happening in there. Which I started before switching to Pokemon. Pokemon was just so simple and relaxing that just the kind of like simple grinding that I really needed. And I happen to know a crazy like Pokemon enthusiast, so whenever I needed help, I could just ask him. I really like working on these sort of like light effects. The way that it's sort of hinting at the body forms. And light catching from like different angles like this. That's one of my favorite things when I'm painting. And obviously, like, rim light is fun, but I don't know if that's responsible to say as a art teacher. Rim light responsibly. It's but you are allowed to have fun when you're doing it. Just don't be blinded by the amount of fun you're having. Thank you, Brian Acosta. Brian is saying, I've been using SimCity and The Sims to work on perspective. I think that's an interesting idea. Are you like doing cities and then using them as sort of like a block-in for a painting? I think that's a cool way to use it. I'm thinking about creating an anonymous Instagram account or something to publish my stuff. Just somehow scared about the feedback since I'm a total newbie in art. Tired Finnish Dad. You are now going into the category that I always tell my art students. You know what I'm going to say, like it's the 3 motivation pillars. And the first motivation pillar is always, nobody cares about your art. You have to work really hard for people to think about your art at all. Like, it's not like somehow you starting to publish your art is suddenly going to change people's opinion of you completely. You have to work really hard for people to care about your art enough. So don't worry about publishing art even if you like don't like it at this point yet. Trust me, like I am speaking from experience. People don't think about other people that much. That like you might have all kinds of insecurities about how other people perceive your art, but that whole effort is gonna be the other way around. You are gonna be the one who has to put in a lot of effort to make people care. So like, don't worry what they will think, because like most likely scenario is that they don't think about it at all, and it's just you. So you use that as a freedom to post as much art online as you want, and use that time to find your voice and the way that you are speaking about your art. That's also a skill. So for that reason, I recommend everybody that you should start publishing your art online as soon as humanly possible. Because it's more about than just getting clicks or traffic to your art. It's also about the way that you are talking about your art is a skill, and it will help you sort of narrow down what it is that you want to make art about. Every time that you publish a painting, give it a name, or talk about the way that you create, you need to process the way that you are creating your art in the first place. And the person that is like gonna get the most benefit out of all of this, the most value, is you, the artist. Because you need to put into words things about your art that just publishing or just like putting it into your hard drive you otherwise wouldn't need to even think about. But when you're presenting your art, then the process itself is going to force you to process why it is that you want to make art in the first place. What are you saying? with your paintings. You might not know it yet, but just the act of like going through this thought process every time and seeing what kind of reactions the people that do comment on it, like what are they saying about your art. That's also very important because you might realize things through other people, like seeing your art through their eyes that you didn't even notice when you were making it. That's super important as well, because it can help you see yourself in a new way. And even if people don't leave any type of comments about your art, there's this weird thing that happens. Just the thought of like, okay, I have now uploaded this picture and it's gonna be visible to other people on this screen like this. That just going through that one step, like you somehow gain this like additional ability to see through other people's eyes. And having a sort of like a practice that you repeat over and over, that every time that you finish a painting, that you publish it like that. Like having that type of a routine to publishing your art consistently, it just pushes you to learn faster, honestly. You can paint by yourself all you want, but as soon as other people see it, like you are gonna think about it a little bit more before publishing. Hopefully not endlessly, but just enough that you know, like if you know that like some areas can be communicated better, like maybe you will go through that extra one more step. Because of it. Because you know that other people will end up seeing it as well. I thought you were Bordante for a second. I don't know who that is. But I'm definitely Mikko. Yes, I am flipping the canvas just to get the symmetry for the eyes. Now that I flipped it, I noticed that it was still off, and that will probably continue happening. But every time I flip the canvas, I lose a little bit of that sort of freshness. I am going to like eventually get used to the way that it looks like both ways around. So at some point, I'm just going to be completely blind to the way that it actually looks. I had the same problem with my photography work. I'm painting for stress relief and resetting my mind. I'd like to just have a gallery for my work and not aim to be a creator or anything. Yes. I think like having anonymity, like it can be very freeing. And I mean, no way like trying to talk you out of it. Like, if you want to create a sort of like web persona that is not connected to your real name, like, absolutely do that. Like, there's no downside to doing that. And this is not Mikko Eerola YouTube channel. This is Angry Mikko YouTube channel. So I too like use this like imaginary name so that people couldn't just like Google my name to find me. Like, I have done that. Like, that's how we are here. Also, there's nothing wrong with just like creating for yourself. But if at all you have sort of like mental fortitude for other people to see your work, you know, that I think that it's a little bit selfish not to show your work to others. I just feel like you get to enjoy the idea and spend so much time with it that, to me personally, sometimes it feels like a little bit wrong if you don't let other people enjoy and benefit the ideas that come to you and those things that you get to enjoy. Because no matter how silly your art is, like, you never know who might need it. And it might not be you. It might be somebody else that needs your art more than you even need your art. The eyes are slowly coming alive. I think it's hardest to like, if you're starting a creative hobby, it can be hardest to show your work to like your closest friends or family members. And if that feels like something that you don't want to do, like you're under like no obligation to disclose all of your new hobbies. But also remember that like you're under no obligation to be good at new things that you are starting to practice. Like you are allowed to learn new skills and like be bad at the new things that you are learning. Olurkins Creates is saying, I can validate what Mikko says about nobody caring too much about what you post online. I have posted online for a few years, and I'm excited to get a few views. But I like to look back. I like to look back at my posts. Yeah, that's one great point as well. You create this sort of like visual journal of your life, really, in a completely different way. And to me, at least, when I think back on lived years, it's really hard for me to remember individual weeks. But if I look at an old painting, I can immediately remember what my life was like when I was painting that thing, like the moment when I was painting it, and just looking at the painting years later will immediately bring me back into that moment when I was doing it. And I think that's something that is just can't be replaced by any other means. art is also a very personal thing, so it can feel very scary to show your work to people closest to you for the first time. But I think that even in that, and this might seem like very scary to do, but you have to take a little bit of responsibility in like just managing in your emotions and what kind of situations you are sort of exposing yourself to by showing your work. And by that I mean, if you, for example, are in a relationship, like let's say that you are starting a new relationship with somebody and it is somewhat new, or like even like a long relationship that you two have lived together for ages and they know you as a one type of a person, and then you suddenly like want to start, you want to learn how to dance or to sing, for example, and it feels like really embarrassing to be bad at it at first because you feel like people are thinking about you and judging you, which I promise you they are not. Just having that sort of like a simple conversation that like, I don't know where this is going to go, but this is something that I feel like I need to explore. I feel that it's somehow I would regret if I didn't try this. So I want you to understand that like this is gonna feel like awkward for me at first, and I really do need and would appreciate your support in me practicing this new skill. Because even if they are not interested in that one thing, like letting them know how you feel about this entire process. I'm sure that everybody has their own similar thing that they feel awkward about starting. I mean, just think about like all the different hobbies that we have possibility to start as a kid. Like you can go to baseball practice or start playing hockey or go into skateboarding, what have you. Okay, skateboarding is probably a bad example for this. But those sort of like opportunities are only dependent on like what's happening in your friend group or what kind of clubs there are available at school. And it's only a like fraction of like the infinite possibilities for your life, like as a whole. So thinking that like you should have like found your ideal hobby to practice or creative skill when you were 13 at least, or otherwise it's too late. But you can't start anything new after that when you're an adult, for example. When you frame it that way, it seems kind of insane that we think that like we should have everything figured out by now when you're older, and that's it. Like you can't start anything new anymore, that like you had your youth and you have made your choices and this is your life now. I don't think any of us would want to sort of like take those options away from other people, so why would we do that to ourselves? And when you are older, like you should have already that knowledge that like when you start something, like you need to allow yourself to be bad at it, really. Like even if you have been painting for ages and ages, like me, I'm like terrible at like many things. Like for example, at drawing hands. If I want to like learn how to draw hands, I have to accept that like, okay, I'm just gonna be like terrible at this, and I'm just gonna make a total ass out of myself, like publicly, when people have seen these other pieces that I have made, if I want to learn this skill better. That's it. But at this point, I think I'm more aware that I cannot limit the way that people perceive me online to chase the things that I am creatively interested in. I am somehow like more interested in doing more characters and like human characters as well lately. Not because I want to do commissions like that. Maybe there's something about like the whole AI thing that like when people want to have like those sort of characters that they used to order from me back when I did characters, those same clients are probably just gonna use AI now. So I don't have to fear that it's going to somehow drastically change my business if I have some characters in my gallery. Anyway, it's been ages since I've done any humans at all, so I am going to be terrible at it. But I am willing to pay that price to sort of like follow that thread of curiosity. overall, if we think about the standards that we are applying to ourselves, we would never do that to other people in our lives. I think there's this weird idea, especially when it comes to sort of like creative endeavors that we start, that there is this weird need that like we either need to be already good at this or we are not allowed to do it at all, which is strange, and I think it's somehow very specific to art. And I think a lot of it comes already from the way that we are taught art from a young age, that kids that are just already like good at drawing, they get praised for being good at drawing. And then anybody else, like, you just get this feeling that like, okay, this is not for me. I'm not gonna get a good grade out of this because I wasn't already good. I think especially in early age, art is not really thought of as a skill, but something that you are miraculously born with. Like, we love this like cult of thinking that you are somehow innately born with some kind of an art skill, which is just utter nonsense when you think about it for 2 seconds. It seems like almost embarrassing to admit, but like only a few years ago, I somehow learned to swim freestyle. Not well, but like just okay-ish. And that's how I was able to get past my first triathlon in open water swimming. Because like, sure, like you are technically allowed to swim in any technique you want, but realistically, if you're not swimming freestyle, it's probably gonna take a while to get around the course. But it took me ages to sort of like admit that like I am willing to be bad at swimming, for like to have another adult human being to teach me how to like swim freestyle in a way that like it can be like a sports hobby at all, because I couldn't do it at all. Like I could not. And I really did feel like this is one of those skills that I should have learned this when I was younger, and now it's too late, which is absolutely silly. I didn't know how to swim, but like even if I didn't know how to swim at all, like I could have easily gone onto any of those courses that teach adults those skills. Like those exist, and completely normal people go into those. It would have been like such an insane idea for me to just decide that like, okay, I'm too old now. Swimming is just not for me. I mean, like freestyle swimming. And then just like never enjoy that as a sport ever. I wish I could like grab this transform thing. I guess I could just do this instead. It's gonna add some sort of like erasing marks. Do a motion blur. Do another motion blur. Then a Gaussian blur. And go into liquify. Then motion blur again. Then Gaussian blur. And then warp tool. A little bit more texture to this foggy effect. I still can't swim freestyle without looking like a drowning moose. But hey, I go forward. Same. I mean, I did leave out the fact that like when I was in that triathlon, it's an open water event. So there are people on paddle boards, and one person who is like one of the security guards from the paddle boards, they did like sort of like get my attention when I was swimming. And I noticed that she was asking me that like, are you all right? So I guess I'm not swimming that well, but hey, I did get out of the water alive. So I didn't say that I now swim well. I didn't drown, which is like where my very low bar was set. I thank my parents for sending me to horrible swimming lessons when I was 7. Yeah. I mean, the swimming lessons that I went to were kind of brutal because I was there with like pretty serious triathlon athletes and they are just amazing at swimming. I was always stuck in the lane that is the slowest, and even still, like I was just learning how to swim freestyle. And I felt like after every swim practice that I just like barely survived because I don't want to be the person who is sort of like blocking the entire lane from these insanely fast people. So that aspect of it, like, probably wasn't like the perfect situation to learn a skill that I was so bad at. How are you doing on time? 2 hours. I think this is looking pretty nice. Also, I have absolutely like nothing to fix on this brush. I mean, I've been working on this for some time, but in this process, like there's not like one point where I felt like, okay, I need to go into the settings and fix them. Because it just works. I'm gonna put the brush with the tags like into the download folder. You can get the download folder link on my Discord. But it's also going to be like on the membership posts. I'll write like a proper introduction to it. And all the links to the downloads are going to be on YouTube side from now onwards. So many of Mikko's pieces could make a great set of illustrations on a children's book. Love it. Apparently you used to do a bit of darker stuff. Yeah, very dark. Very dark stuff. I thought this was an additive layer. Oh. That's one more thing that I spent a lot of my artist life thinking about, like, do I need to have like a publisher so that I can write stories and talk about the characters and the kind of worlds they live in and the stories that they go through? And in the last few years, I think I've been like more and more relaxed about it, that I now know that like I don't need anyone's permission. Like there are a few like publishing houses in Finland, like Ottawa and what are there? Tammi. They're not gonna come here and ask for me to like write my stories, and they will probably want to control the way that I do them. So sometimes I write stories for my characters, and I now know that I can just use these platforms to tell those stories. I've been like telling some like stories that I have already thought of, like in these live streams. And that's it. Like there's already an audience that is gonna listen. do those, I can reach people with these online channels that I have sort of like cultivated through my art already. Like, I don't need anyone to give me a permission and tell me that I'm good enough to write my stories and illustrate my own stories. Sure, it would be super nice to like do an actual physical children's book. But I don't think it's like any lesser way to tell stories, like with the way that I can by using, for example, this channel, these live streams, or my Instagram post captions. For example, when I did that Christmas tree, like that sentient Christmas tree, like having the limitation of like Instagram captions to like be the limitation of like how many characters the story can have, I think that was like a very fun writing challenge for me to get through. And I don't think like there's anything that I would like to add to that. I think that works on its own already. Nico, can you make us a calendar to buy? I think there might be a way to do a calendar through InPrint, or YouTube also has this like other like merch shop. I think the cut for the artists is really not as great as InPrint, but maybe I could use that to do a calendar for those who want it. InPrint is also expanding their like print options. I think they're gonna have stickers or something, and I applied to the beta program, and they gave me access to it already. So I'm curious to see how that works. It would be super cool to make stickers. I mean, like, not just stickers out of my existing art, but I think it would also be cool to like design stickers that are more like suitable for the printing technology that the sticker printers use. I think that could be fun. I think this is starting to be pretty ready, honestly. I don't want to get into a territory where I'm just painting for painting's sake. Maybe some sort of like bigger leaves in the foreground. Work. Sometimes I even think that like maybe when I'm painting, it's pretty hard to sort of like talk at the same time, some sort of like consistent narrative. But sometimes I've noticed that when I have a very clear idea of a world that I am depicting, like for example what happened with the dragon thing, that maybe like one way to do that in a live stream could be that like I could write the story out loud and just do a normal voiceover like I do for my normal YouTube videos. And then when I'm just focusing on painting the painting and I have already sort of like planned out this story in my head, then I could just focus on painting and then just have a small section of the entire live stream, like that could be like midway through or near the end, where I'm just painting silently and I press a button on OBS and it would play the audio voiceover file of me, like basically narrating the story of what's happening in the illustration. And that could be like one way to tell a story, like in this format. I mean, we're already all here. I'm sure I used the time to say like way more dumb, less thought out things as well. So, I don't know. Maybe nobody comes here to hear me tell a story, but if it works, and if I do it often enough, maybe that could be something like, I don't know if people would like it. And I'm not going to know if I don't try. When I was writing the Christmas story for the Christmas tree, like I had to be very careful with the amount of words that I was using. So what kind of details are important for the lesson of the story. And it's kind of like a wholesome Christmas story. But I did have to sort of like narrow it down to the most essential elements. But my favorite part of that story is like the small detail that I didn't cut out, that like some kids at the Christmas market were being disrespectful and the Christmas tree ate few of the kids. It's just like a small bit at the end, but like that's my favorite detail. That's definitely not something that children's book publisher would have let me do with a Christmas story. But there's a point to it. Like the point is like you need to be respectful to nature. Respect goes both ways. Any chance of getting a plywood print? My kid wants one Mikko painting into his room. All our previous ones are on plywood. I've been thinking about how to blend them. Imprint only has wood frame. I mean, tired finished that. You could just maybe like buy the file from me, like whatever the cost of the print in that scale would be on Imprint, like just send me that money and I will send you the file. I'm sure that you will get a cheaper deal here in Finland. I can, for example, recommend Dialab is really good, or Ballila. I don't know if they still do like custom prints, but like previously in Ballila you could get, for example, your own like door. Like you could show up with your door and print files. Like, please print this image on this door. Like you can do so much cool stuff in there. Print a carpet, curtains, like literally whatever. We have an extra door in the storage. Wife would not be happy. Ask your wife what your wife wants on the door. I'm sure she would love it if it's something that she likes. This is fully going to like sound like a commercial, but I used Ballila when I did my last year final exhibition when I was finishing art school, and I printed all of the works on those sort of like massive outdoors billboards, Viscom boards. And when I went there, and I just like when you walk into that place, you can see all of these different options of like what you can print your stuff on. Just going in there, you have like so many ideas that like, oh, I could do this or that. I'm just doing some simple color adjustments, turning this into overlay blend mode, then going into curves.
Thank you so much.
And adding a little bit more lightness to the light areas in a sort of gradient-y way. Here it can help, like if you just scale it down quite a bit so that you can see the overall impact that this type of effect has it on it. And I want to sort of boost those warm tones, so I'm bumping up the red a little bit. I want the red to sort of reach those areas where the white fur or feathers are here. Can you see the difference? Like when I'm moving the node here in this area, it's just changing the temperature of those brush strokes so that I get this nice, cool, warm hue contrast without messing too much with the highlights. So I think the highlights above that are already warm enough. And if I want to just like bump up the green in the very shadow areas, I can add that like extra anchor here. This is preventing the green to be added to the highlights. I'm just gonna keep it there. And this is just gonna bump up those shadows to be more green. Now I want to add these to have sort of like one more layer of darker dots that are light. I don't know why, but like to me this makes perfect sense somehow. The ring of like particles around this, like to me, it reminds me of those religious icon paintings in churches, and I think this is just like my way of saying that, like I think nature is sacred and just as valuable as all of these human created cultures that we have, and they deserve the same kind of respect. When I was planning this stream, I wasn't sure if I'm gonna do a fox or an owl, and these like two competing ideas were battling in my head. But I think this way, when it's sort of like both, it's making more of a case for nature itself, not any specific character or individual, but now this sort of invented creature can stand in as a proxy for all of nature's creations in one. It's sort of looking at you. Ball. Cute monstrosity. That's a fun way of putting it. I was trying to make a funny marsupial pal for a logo, all lost in the shrubs, like you stumble upon him and he's like, huh, yeah, I like aprons. Aprons on anything looks good. I think I'm cooking now so much that I need an apron. I think that's justified. So I want to thank everybody for joining this stream, and for all the people who have joined this channel. You can download this brush, a really cool brush. It's gonna do like one close-up brush stroke so you can see it. Like, can you see, like, this is the source? So you can mix colors with this very easily. And then it blends those two different types of canvas textures together. I think it's really cool. But you can still like sort of control the shape pretty easily with this, I think. I don't think that the texture here is sort of like overwhelming the point of the painting. Oh, I just came up with like one more idea. Why do I always do this? It's so bad for the retention. Just cutting the edge of the darkest shadows in the bottom, because like those aren't that important. Okay, that's it. Am I going to do the one more thing? I really should stop. I think I'm gonna do it. At least try. So one way to add a little bit of glow to these sort of bright elements without tampering with the sharpness is that you can add like a slight reddish hue, like right on the surface, like so. Just a tiny little bit. And when you zoom out, it sort of looks like this sort of like hot glow of light, but it's not like a soft gradient that just defeats the contrast that you have built up. This is just like one optical trick that you can use in your paintings. Can you see it? Like, it's not really a glow, but it gives the same sort of like impression. No, you don't have it, like, because this brush, I made the final tweaks just today, and this is a dual brush. So any like suggestions, like what do you want me to name this brush? Please let me know. And yeah, like if you have any suggestions for a name, like give me your suggestions like here or on Discord, and I will upload it right after this stream. So thank you for joining this, and I will see you guys maybe in the next stream or next video. I don't know. I'm also doing that color theory lecture on the membership side. I've been writing it for ages. It still needs quite a bit of work, honestly. It's one of those longer videos. It's not like entertaining, but if anybody wants to like sit through color theory like in a very sort of like condensed bite-sized form, it's going to be a longer video, but I'm hoping to explain Johannes Itten's color theory in a way that is sort of like more accessible for artists, because the book that I always recommend, it can be a little bit intimidating and hard to see like how it applies in practice. So I hope that the way that I've been like treating this script, it's super long, is going to make all of those like 7 color theory key points like easier to implement into your art. Okay, but if you don't like that, there's plenty of other stuff on the membership as well. Okay, thank you for joining. Foal is a dual name. Yes, I think Foal is a great name for a brush. Let's decide that. It's a Foal brush. I mean, it's perfect. It's two things at once. That's a dual brush. Thank you for joining. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.